Real talk. No bull. Real talk. We're putting it all on the table. You know what to do.
All right, welcome. Episode 4. How are we today?
Yeah, not too bad, mate.
Not too
Not
bad?
too bad, can't complain yet.
Yeah.
And if I do, no one listens.
yeah, pretty much, eh?
Yep.
So, intro music.
Yeah.
Got some new intro music.
Shout out to Jared, eh?
Yeah, Jared.
Put it
So,
all out there for us.
Jared's a mate of ours. He goes by the DJ name Formidien. So, if you want to check out his music, he's a drum and bass DJ, and he is on Spotify, and we'll put a link in the description of this podcast if you want to go and check out his music. It's hard, fast drum and bass, so if that's what you're into, then that's,
Check it out.
yeah. I think it might have been a little bit tricky for him dumbing himself down a little bit for us.
Absolutely, it was.
Yeah, we gave him a good little task there.
Yeah, we can definitely put out the original as well and see how he's toned it back. But
That's
he's
right.
He's done a really good job.
He's done a fantastic
Can't
job
ask
for us.
A better job, really.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. And so last week we had Ryan,
Our first guest.
our first guest on the podcast from
Yeah.
One Talk.
Yeah.
How do we feel about it? How did we feel about our first guest?
I thought it was really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought having him on as our first guest was really good. I liked the way he went into his personal issues, the way he overcame them. You know, giving little tips to us and the audience, and
Yeah, man.
hopefully whoever listened to it can take something away from it, even if it's just one person.
Yeah,
Then it's done its job, really.
that's it, man.
But yeah, what a story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Massive story, eh? I mean, I guess like what I was really inspired by was the fact that he was so young when he started going through all of that stuff, but then he was still really young when he overcome it.
Yeah.
And that's a really good tale of determination for others. Anytime we can make the change, right? We can always change to be better. But what a massive thing to do as a young guy, to be able to overcome all of those challenges. So if you missed out on last week's episode 3, get back, have a listen, have a watch. Pretty cool. I enjoyed it. I guess the one takeaway that I really found quite neat about it was the whole going into like the events and stuff that he's got into, and I kind of, if we get big enough, we might be able to do some events too, right?
Hey, that'd be alright.
Yeah,
wouldn't it?
that'd be pretty neat.
Yeah, from what the way that he described it about getting that, fulfillment from it, as well as having people to ask, the audience asking questions and getting first-hand experience and being able to walk away and implementing something pretty much straight after that cast that could change their lives. I think that's a pretty cool feeling.
Totally, man. Totally.
But I guess what I took away from that was something that kind of hit today as well, was just finding that time within your day to take 5 couple of minutes just to reset yourself, do some breath work, whatever it is that resets yourself to keep going for the day.
It's so true though. Like, we have so much wasted time in our day that you could be utilizing for something more beneficial. Because there's like, I could just stand in the kitchen for 10 minutes and like look at the fish tank.
Yeah.
And that gives me a lot of joy.
Yeah.
But I could be doing something with that 10 minutes of my time.
Even if it's just driving in your car.
Yeah.
I was talking to Rach today, and
Who's Rach?
a future guest, the psychologist.
Nice.
And we were just saying, like, even just on your drive to work, using that 5-10 minutes, an hour, just to get that practice in on those things, whether it's your breath work or your using your 5 senses to reset yourself before you get to work.
Yeah, and I guess if you pull up next to me, you'll see that I'm practicing my vocal cords with my singing, and you'll get blessed with a bit of that because that's what I do on my way to work.
Yeah, that's how that's my reset as well. You'll be finding me doing that.
I'm belting out some bangers, mate. Yeah, some 80s classics, probably.
Some Nickelback for me.
Bit of Creed.
Jesus, Creed, absolutely.
Creed, yeah.
All the dad bands.
Yeah, man, yeah. Nah, nice, man, nice. Nah, it's cool, yeah, and we've got an array of guests lined up for the next sort of couple of months, so I'm really looking forward to all of that. And just for the listeners or the viewers out there, we'll be doing sort of like a guest on, guest off. We'll be doing a week, just Braden and I, and then we'll have a guest on, and just so that we don't have to sort of, I guess, keep up with a very strict itinerary of guests, right?
Yeah, give us a bit of time to...
Bit of breathing room.
And put a real talk, no bull spin on it as well. Just a few takeaways for the people that don't want to hear the ins and outs of a duck's ass. So.
Yeah, that's it, mate. That's it. So I guess something I wanted to talk about this week was bullying. I was just sort of scanning the interwebs, and I come across an article that was written last year, sometime in the second half of last year, that Australian schools have some of the highest bullying rates in the world. There's about 6 schools that are very high, about 6 countries that are very high with the bullying rates. Australia's up in there, New Zealand's up in there, Hong Kong, America, a couple of other countries. But yeah, I don't know. I wonder why that is, hey?
Sorry, mate, this mic's giving me the shits.
Is it?
Keep going.
Sort it out,
I'm
mate.
listening. Go.
Yeah, I just wanted to talk about that, and I just wanted to know, from your point of view, what we reckon we can do about that, or what we can discuss about it, because 1 in 6 kids reckon that they've been bullied in some kind of way, and bullying's not just physical. There's verbal bullying, there's social alienation kind of type bullying, there's online bullying, there's it's all coming in different forms now, and so these are things that our kids growing up got to navigate, right?
Yeah, well, especially with the online bullying. Like, I remember when dial-up on Messenger, it was like, just with online bullying now, it's like, for my daughter, it's just so accessible. And at any moment, any time, anyone around the world could say whatever they want. Yeah. Especially with when they're on like Roblox or whatever it's called, and you hear, sometimes I hear people or kids yell out to her, "Oh, you're fat," or "You're ugly," and like, these people have never seen her. But it's just, these are the kind of things now that I think is so much puts the kids these days at more of a risk. Yeah. There's just more avenues of being bullied.
Yeah. See, I guess from my point of view with the online thing, like, I don't let my kids online with other kids, essentially, for that reason. My kids have got Kids Messenger so that they can keep in contact with some of their friends, but that's something that my wife and I manage. Yeah. So, and I can see all of that, and we already had one instance on there where, I had to have a chat with that young boy's parents, because of something he said, and so and that's but I guess that's the kind of world that the kids growing up in, right? But I mean, why is Aussie schools got such a high rate of bullying? Like, why is that, you reckon? Don't know.
I wish I could answer that, because if I could answer that, it would solve the problem.
That's right,
to be honest.
Yeah.
I don't know why it's such a... You would think these days it would be even less of an issue. With all the... Again, online, with all the information that we have firsthand now as parents. Like, my parents didn't have this information when I was going through shit at school. No. I kind of dealt with it myself. My parents would only find out about it after I've reacted. Yeah. And then the bullying stops, but that's not what we're trying to...
And you're getting a phone call.
You want to come speak to your son?
Yeah.
But yeah, I just would have thought that with the amount of information out there that is so accessible, that it would be easier to handle things, but at the same time it's spiraling out of control. It's a double-edged sword.
Yeah. Do you, like, I mean, I would presume that, you know, because kids aren't born being nasty, right?
No.
It's a learned thing. Kids are sponges, right? So they're going to absorb all this information that they get bombarded with from all around them. So is it coming from what they're watching? Is it coming from, you know, the way that their parents are talking or acting? Or, you know, I know for myself personally, I diligently try to stamp anything out of my kids that is any type of. I don't even let my kids fight with each other. You know, it's kind of like if they start arguing, it's kind of like, okay, what's going on? Kiss and make up. Come on, let's sort it out, sort of thing. Because I don't want them acting mean towards each other. So I definitely don't want them acting mean towards any other kids. And yes, I mean, kids can pull the wool over your eyes a bit. You know, they can be perfect little angels at home and then go to school and be, you know, a little rat bag. But yeah, I don't know. And I guess like, I was on Instagram this morning and I come across Find Your Feet page. I'm a big follower. And Tommy Herschel, he does a lot with young boys in schools. And he gets these young fellas talking. And, you know, a lot of it is around bullying and the way that these young lads feel. But he was saying this morning, and I don't really follow the news all that much, but he was saying that a young boy of 13 years old took his life a couple of days ago because of bullying. And, you know, how does it even get that far, man? Like, I just don't understand, like, how it can't be seen by people around them, you know? Like, you know, maybe the kid was too scared to speak up, you know? Like, but what are the teachers doing at school? Like, I don't get it. And like, I mean, if you're a teacher and you're listening, you know, like, chime in the comments and tell us how hard it could be at school. Because, yeah.
Well, I'll say this. I'll try not to give away too much, but my daughter has once tried to chime in and say something to a teacher, but the teacher's response was, "Oh, they've got a voice. They can voice it." The child that was being bullied.
I see your daughter was standing up for somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, credit to her. And
Yeah.
after you showed me this story this morning, I told you that I was going to talk to my kids, and when we got home today, I spoke to them about it, and I said, don't be afraid to be the voice for someone who doesn't want to speak out.
That's right.
Because often the person that doesn't speak out doesn't want to talk about it in fear of making the situation worse with the bullies.
Yeah.
So if you've, like what, what was his, the guy that made the video?
Oh, Tommy from Find Your Feet.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. Exactly what he said. If you can be that person that's there standing by their side, making sure that they're all right, or being the voice of them if they're too scared to speak,
Yeah.
you know, fucking do it.
Yeah, hard out.
You know, someone could have helped prevent this kid from taking his life.
Yeah.
And that...
Well, a big issue that a lot of people have, and even adults, like, is the bystander effect.
Yeah.
It's like something will be happening and nobody does anything about it because everybody who's there standing around watching is scared of either getting involved or getting hurt or you know, something happening to them. But it's all it takes is one person to stand up and then other people will follow because other people know that it's wrong, but sometimes they don't have the courage to be that person to stand up first. And yeah, it just breaks my heart that 13-year-old boys and girls, I mean, it's not just boys, it's girls as well, that you know, even teenagers just take their life over bullying.
Shouldn't have been entering their heads.
Nah.
They should just
No,
be
they
concentrating on
life
and school.
And being kids and just having fun. Like, yeah, so I think it's a really good conversation to have with your kids, like, yeah, just about how we treat each other. Because I don't bully people, you know, I don't go out into the world and bully people. If anything, I want to raise people up, and I want to make people to feel good, and I want to see if people are okay, and that's how I want my kids to be towards people too. Because, yeah, what's the point of bringing all that negativity to the world, right?
It doesn't help anyone.
Nah, it doesn't help. It doesn't help anybody, especially within the schools. Like I can't say that my kids have fully been on the back end of any bullying. Last year, my oldest daughter, she was on the receiving end of a little bit, and that was from a friend's older sister, and I think that older sister was probably just a little bit jealous of that friendship relationship, but it made it really difficult. And Daisy didn't really want to go over to her house because of that reason. She was a little bit scared of what this older sister might do to her. And so, our kids shouldn't have to live in fear of other kids. But I think it's something that's always going to happen. And so how do we deal with that? I guess I've always told my kids, don't be the one to start it. But I said, you're allowed to defend yourself. You know what I mean? And I don't condone fighting. I don't condone, being the one to start anything. But I definitely condone my kids standing up for themselves if they need to. But my kids are pretty vocal anyways, so yeah. Not much is going to get past my kids, or yeah.
Well, I said the same to my kids. If you can de-escalate it with words,
yeah,
absolutely, that's your first point of call.
100%.
But then we say, oh, go tell an adult, go tell the teachers. But usually this shit happens on the schoolyard where there is no teachers.
Yeah. And how many times do you tell a teacher and nothing happens?
That's
until
right.
you just think, oh well, the teacher's not going to do anything, or the adult's not going to do anything.
That's right.
So it's kind of like, I guess it's up to us as adults too. Like we've got to take it a little bit more seriously sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I said the same thing to my kids. De-escalate it with your words first. If you can tell a teacher, tell a teacher. But also, my views changed on this a lot. It used to be no violence, but at the same time, you can tell if someone's going to lunge at you or attack you, or you just by their posture or stance. I was like, from Cobra Kai, mate, strike first if you need to. Don't wait to be hit.
Yeah.
Don't wait to be hit. But I said to them, make sure that you know that if I'm batting for you, that they were going to make the first move. I said, as long as, you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, who waits to get hit?
Yeah.
We wouldn't.
Nah.
And I think at this, it's important for them to understand that too.
Yeah, I'd probably walk away first.
Yeah, of course.
When I was younger, I wouldn't have. I would have stuck in there, and I probably would have got hit first before I retaliated.
Yeah, that's what I used to do as well.
Just because that's what I had always been taught.
Yeah.
It was like, you won't get in trouble if you're not the first one to throw a punch. But I can understand where you're coming from. Like, if you see that there's some imminent, threat towards you, and you can't get out of it, and your words don't work, then you got to do something, right?
Yeah, I still expect my 5-year-old not to do that.
Nah.
I say that to him. I said, that's your last resort, buddy.
That's right.
At the same time now, these days, at our age, there's no such thing as a fair fight anymore. It's not once you hit the ground, it stops. They just keep going and going and going. So that's why I'm kind of thinking at my age bracket, and I'm trying to explain that to my kids for when they're older, but really I should be still instilling those kind of values into them too. But at the same time, I'm still like, no, fuck it, man.
Yeah.
If you're gonna get hit, mate, if you think you're gonna get hit, and this guy's being a prick.
Yeah. Have your kids done any martial arts or anything?
Yeah, Zaki did Taekwondo.
Yeah.
But he's stopped that now. But I want to get them back into something for sure. Especially, I'd feel better in the world knowing that my daughter knows something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I might try to get them into maybe some kickboxing or something. But yeah, I think martial arts is good because it gives them the confidence that they can defend themselves, but also teaches them that's your last resort.
Yeah. My youngest, she did martial arts for a bit, and she really enjoyed it, but she kind of wanted to do something else, so we just let her do something else after that. But she's been talking lately that she wants to do some boxing. So I don't know. We'll see if that goes
some
anywhere.
daddy-daughter classes.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I've always I did a bit of boxing back in the day, back in my late teens, and I really enjoyed it, and yeah, I wouldn't mind getting back into a little bit, But for anything, if just a fitness.
Yeah.
But also, it's good to know how to defend yourself as well. Yeah. But I would always suggest to my kids, just walk away. first. That's what I got told. Sometimes, you couldn't. I mean, I had plenty of instances growing up where I kind of had to just sort of stand there and take it, really. I had this one guy probably when I was like 11, 12, so intermediate age, and he would have been a couple of years older than me. So I think when I was 11, he might have been 13 at high school. And he was the older brother of a guy I knew. And he would rough me up every now and again at the bus stop, and, it just generally bully me with, words, or kind of, threaten me with, like, oh, I'm going to beat you up and all this sort of stuff. And, and then when he would turn up at the bus stop, he'd kind of rustle me up a bit, and it just was ongoing for a while. And then I finally left intermediate and I went to high school, and he was at another high school. And so that was all good. And then I would have been 14 and he would have been 16 or 17. Yeah. But I walk around one of the blocks one day, and there he is in my school uniform walking towards me, and he sees me, and he kind of eyes me up, and he has this massive grin on his face, and he kind of walked up to me. He's like, "Oh, Timmy Hunter," and he kind of like pushed me against the wall, and he kind of said, "Look, I'm here now, you stay out of my way," sort of thing. And I just kind of like grinned at him like, you ain't shit anymore, mate. Like, you ain't shit to me anymore. Like, well past this, mate. I wasn't scared of him. But then as he went one way and I went the other way, I walked around the corner, and there was a deputy principal. And I just said, "Hey, sir." And I told him what had happened, and I told him the little bit of backstory and history. And I didn't see him again after that. And then it wasn't until, I might have been 23, 24, maybe 23 years old, and I was working in a bike shop, and it was a bit of a quiet day, and in walks this guy. And obviously I hadn't seen him since that day at high school, right? And he sees me and I see him, and I kind of went over to him. It's my job. He's my customer. He's walked into my shop. And I approached him by, saying his name, and he said my name, and then he pretty much just said, "Look, I'd apologise to you. I'd apologise for the way I acted all those years ago." He says, "I was just real angry, and I don't really know why," and we had a bit of a chat about it. And I sold him a wind trainer, and off he went, gave him a discount even. Yeah. And it was nice to get a little bit of, bit of an apology. I mean, I'd never held it against him. It wasn't something that, dragged me down for years or whatever. But, and I think as kids and teenagers, man, you don't really know what you're doing. You're bullying somebody because somebody's probably bullying you, or you've got a shit home life, or, you're just not got any love in your life. And so that's why you're probably taking it out on somebody else. It's not that you're a nasty kid. You just don't know how to process your emotions. And I think that was his thing. He just said he was really angry, and he said that he spent a bit of time in anger management after getting kicked out of my high school. And so, yeah, I think we can't just blame the kids for being bad kids, if they are being a bully. I think we've got to look at the broader picture, right? Of like, why are you bullying? Like, what's going on in your life? Like, sometimes that kid might have never even been sat down and had a voice. You might not have been able to say how he was feeling or how she was feeling or whatever, So I guess that's, something that I would probably look at as well. Like, if somebody was bullying my kid and, or hurt my daughter, I'd be mad. I'd be pretty ropeable, but I wouldn't. You're not going to act in that moment straight away. You got to think about it, logically, and you got to use your brain here. Like, it's kind of like, let's figure out what's going on. Why is this happening?
You're going to set a good example for your kids as well.
That's right.
Yeah, that's
right. And I think sometimes within the schools, like, I know that my kids' school is massive, and there's a lot of kids there, and there's probably a lot of things going on that get missed by the teachers because some of the schools are just too big.
They can't see it all.
Nah, and they're probably understaffed. And I'm not blaming the teachers or the school faculties or anything like that. I mean, hats off to them. They do a fantastic job. It's a job that I couldn't do.
No.
I couldn't be a teacher or work in a school. So yeah, man, hats off to the teachers. And yeah, man.
Do you find a lot of the stories that I hear about, friends of ours that their kids have been bullied and that, more often than not, the parents are really good. They're the ones that take the time to explain to their kids about bullying and how it's wrong, but it still happens, and that makes it even harder. Because how do you even approach? Because you want to be angry at someone, and you can't find yourself getting angry at getting too angry at a 9-year-old.
Yeah, that's right.
So it's like how do the parents that are already trying to prevent their kids from being bullies?
Yeah.
Like what are the next steps that get taken?
Yeah.
They're obviously not taking any information in that their parents are giving them.
Nah.
So.
Yeah. Pack mentalities sometimes.
Yeah.
Because I mean, it's not just one kid; it's a bunch of kids, isn't it? And so it's
a status thing.
Yeah, it's a status thing. And so I'm trying to be cool in front of my friends, and they might not want to do that, but they have to, because otherwise they'll get bullied by their friends. And so yeah. But have you ever been punched in the face?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been punched in the face plenty of times, mate. Plenty of times. I remember one time at TAFE, we were walking down the street on Warrigal Road, and it wasn't even my fault. My mate was being a smart ass to this guy, and my mate was obviously a lot bigger than this other dude, but the other guy didn't want to take any shit. So he just fucking grabbed me out of nowhere by my shirt and just started punching me in the face. Yeah. But I just stood there and took it, and I waited until he was done, and I just asked him if he was finished, are you over it? And he just walked on off.
Yeah,
I didn't feel that, he wasn't punched me very hard, but I didn't feel the need to throw a punch back.
Yeah.
I just stood there and took it like Homer.
Yeah.
Idiot.
Yeah.
But in hindsight, I wish I had have thrown a few back, but at the same time, I'm glad I didn't, because
a lot more handsome version.
Yeah. But at the same time, I could have thrown a punch, and who knows what could have happened. I could have hit him in the sweet spot. He could have fallen, and
yeah. Back in 2012, actually, my wife had a friend that she went to university with, and he got king punched in downtown Auckland and died.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, and that was really sad. And that's the thing. You just never know what's going to happen, right? You could hit somebody in retaliation or defense or whatever, and they might fall and hit the concrete, and that's it. And then what, So yeah, I'm a big talker. I've always, after sort of high school and getting through that period of my life, I always try and talk myself out of situations. I had a good one time where I was actually here in Brisbane when I was 18, 19. I was 19, and we were coming through the city. I was with a friend of mine, and he is a Māori fella, and this car pulls up next to us. I haven't told you this one before, but this car pulls up next to us, and it was a car full of skinheads, full on proper skinheads, and they start hanging out the window and mouthing off at my mate. And I said to him, bro, just ignore it. And I could tell that he was really kind of trying hard to ignore it, And then the light turned green, and we pulled off from the lights. These guys pulled up ahead of us a bit, and they're still hanging out the window. So currently we're in a car that was a loan car from Panel Beaters because my mate's car was in the shop. And as these guys got out ahead of us, my mate sped up, got up alongside them, and then smashed into their car, side-swiped their car. And this guy had to dive back into the car because he was hanging out the window.
Shit.
And I was just head in my hands, just oh oh no, what have you done? And he was like, nah, F those guys, you know, like, and I was like, yeah, but,
The
you
car.
know, well, I'm not really worried about the car. I was worried about us,
Oh,
you know, like, what are these
oh, you're
guys
outnumbered.
going to do to us
Oh,
now?
okay,
Yeah,
shit,
yeah. We had 2 female friends in the car,
Oh,
and myself and my mate. And I was just like, oh, man, you got to get us out of here. And so a chase ensued. My mate took off, and these guys chased us. I don't even really know where we were at the time, but I know we were on the north side of the bridge, and we crossed the gateway bridge, and we were zigzagging out of and through the traffic, and I could see these guys zigzagging behind us. And as we got off that bridge at the other side, we got away a bit, and we kind of like pulled into the side street, and my mate almost lost it, like into the side street, and we hid underneath this underground car park. And the girls jumped out, and we jumped out, and we're all like, what the hell, what the hell? And there was a bush that kind of just had this small gap in it that you could see out through to the road. And I kind of was just sort of standing a few meters back from this bush, and I kind of just glanced through this hole in the bush. And at that moment, these guys come flying past in their car, and I locked eyes with one of the guys. And I was just like, oh, man. And they obviously went around the block. And then a couple of minutes later, this real massive skinhead guy, he would have been about 6'5". No shit, he was huge. Like, I mean, I was 6 foot back then. I was just scrawny little fella, you know. And he had a massive big flathead screwdriver. And he said, you guys are going to fucking die. And I was just like, no, hold on, mate, hold on. And he's like, come with me. And so we had to walk up the road with him back to his mates. And these guys were mad. These guys were fuming. And I talked these guys out of punching me and my mate's head in, essentially. And from that moment, that day, I kind of knew I could probably talk myself out of any kind of situation if anything gets too heavy. Like I just talked my mate I just talked these guys out from stabbing my mate, you know, and punching my head in. And so yeah, I really you know, the merit of talking it out, I kind of would rather do that and walk away than kind of stand and fight with somebody these days. And there's been plenty of times where I've talked myself out of many situations with people. And I guess one of my go-to questions now is if somebody comes at me with anger, I just ask them, why are you so angry? Why are you angry? And 9 times out of 10, they don't really have a full-on reason. It gives them that split second to think, why am I? And, you know, if I haven't physically done anything to them, then, you know, there's no need to get into it. You know what I mean? Like, but I'm not going to get into it anyways. You know, I value my face.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and so, yeah, it's, yeah, but bringing it back to the schools, man, like I don't really know how to curb it either, but I like what Tommy's doing on Find Your Feet, getting these young guys talking about the struggles and the way that they feel within the school life. And if you haven't looked at Find Your Feet page, get on Instagram, Find Your Feet, Tommy Herschel. He's an absolute bloody legend. I met him when I did the Insight show on SPS, and yeah, top-notch guy. Does what he's doing is amazing. Like, I love it. Like, some of the stories that he tells on his Instagram, man, fuck, almost brings me to tears, man. Like what some of these young guys are going through, or what he's talking about with some of these young guys. Like, but it's the pattern is that nearly everybody is going through the same shit. It's just like, but no one's talking about it. And so it's kind of like, well, if you just talk about it, then you find out, well, actually, like, you're not too much different than me. And you're not too much different than me. So why do we need all the fighting? Why do we need to bully each other? And so, yeah, I think it's got to start with the parents, though.
Yeah.
100%, man. We've got to talk about our kids. Well, we've got to talk about it with our kids more. And if you've seen those signs of bullying tendencies within your kids, then you got to do something to stamp it out, man. Like, I don't know. Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
I don't know,
No,
man.
I agree, man.
Yeah.
No,
Because I'm not gonna let my kids be bullied.
no way.
Nah.
No. Yeah, I was talking to that with my kids tonight after I watched that Instagram video, and I pretty much said, if I ever hear, that you're the bully,
Yeah.
there's gonna be an ass kicking.
Oh yeah, mate.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
stamp that out. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd rather
Yeah.
talk about it now because
I mean, I've met your kids, and I don't think they'd ever be bullies.
I don't think so either.
Much like
but
my
you're right.
kids
I think talking to the kids now about it is important, because after I spoke to Abby about what happened with that 13-year-old boy, she was all of a sudden, oh, I'm scared of going to school. I'm scared of going to high school. I said, no, don't be scared.
Yeah.
It's all about knowing how to deal with it.
Yeah.
You know, talk about it, be vocal, because if you're not vocal, you can't get the help that you need to overcome it.
Yeah, that's right. And my mate Dan has got a episode on his Brojo where he talks about manipulation.
Yep.
And if I remember correctly, it sort of, he outlines the fact that you can only be manipulated by people if you let them. So if you don't allow that kind of manipulation to happen, then you almost build this force field around you, and it's kind of just like, well, you're trying, but it's actually not working on me because I'm not allowing it to work. And I think, like trying to build that resilience in your kids young is,
What's on my to-do list, mate, that I had a look up before about? It's all about empowering them.
Yep.
Teaching them the safe responses and building their confidence up to know that if they're just being verbally bullied, it's just words.
Yeah.
It's just words, and only you can allow that to affect you.
Yeah, that's right.
So that's what I just thought that was a good segue into that.
Right? Yeah. No, that's awesome, man. That's awesome. Yeah, man. It's bullying's shit.
Yeah, man. It is shit. Have you been the bully?
Have I been the bully?
Yeah.
I was never an outright bully. There was probably a couple of kids when I was younger that, probably copped a little bit of flack from me.
Yep.
Which, which I regret. I don't have many regrets, but I regret doing stuff like that. I even reached out to somebody. It would have been in about 2015. I kind of had this New Year's resolution that I was gonna mend a lot of things from my past. Kind of reach out to people and kind of right some wrongs and kind of do some apologies and stuff like that. If anything, not really to make myself feel better, but just to, I guess, put it out there that it was something that made me feel shit, and I apologize to them if it made them feel shit, And so, there was one guy I reached out to from high school that I kind of tried to pick a fight with him one day, and I can't really remember what it was over, but it drew a bit of a crowd, and he didn't want to fight, and I kind of did, and I kind of look back on it in reflection, and it was kind of like, well, that was really, really dumb. You know what I mean? Like, what was I trying to prove? Like, and so I reached out to him, apologized, and he was like, nah, it's cool, man. Like, it's all good. It's all water under the bridge. And I was like, yeah, I know, man, but it was a really shit thing to do. And I guess, as when you get older, you realize how dumb you are as a kid.
It reminds me of that scene in Billy Madison where he apologizes for bullying that guy, and he's got the lipstick and he crosses his name out off his hit list. Man, that could have been your saving grace.
yeah. But nah, it's all good, man. It's all good. I had I didn't really like being a bully. Sure, there was a few times where I'd kind of got pushed around, got bullied. I had a bit of a feud with one guy at high school, but that was kind of a bit of a tit for tat thing between me and him, and that kind of went on for a couple of years. We'd scrap every now and again, but we were on par with each other, so it was all right. It was pretty fair, it was pretty fair. Yeah.
Oh, cool, man.
And it's all good. Yeah.
Well, tell me about. I've heard from a reliable. I was going to save this for the end.
Okay.
But I was-
I think we're there anyways.
Yeah. But a reliable source tells me about a scrap where you got knocked out and it wasn't even your fault. Is that? Am I getting that right?
Yeah, okay, yeah, that story I got knocked out. Yep. Yeah, there hasn't been many times I got knocked out. But yeah, I was at a party one night, friend's party, and yeah, it was good. It was good. It was just a gathering, a bit of a gathering. We all knew each other. Everyone knew each other. Everyone was having a good time. And I was standing out on the porch, and I was just talking with some friends, and a couple of guys turned up from high school, and everyone knew them as well. And I could see him over in the corner, kind of giving another group of people. He was sort of standing over them, being a little bit intimidating. But I didn't really think much of it. Like I was probably pretty drunk at the time, and I'm probably struggling to stand as it was, and conversate with the friends I was conversating with. But he turned and he looked at me, and he walked straight over to me, and he kind of like got in amongst our little circle, and he started talking at me, and I can't really remember what he was saying, but I just looked at him. I was just watching his mouth move, and I'm sort of standing there like, what is it? I think I was thinking to myself, what's he going on about? Why is he talking to me? Like, what have I done? And then his friend was standing behind him, and at one point his friend says, "Tell him to get on his knees and say sorry." And he said, "Yeah, get on your knees and say sorry." And I'm kind of thinking to myself, why? Like, what have I got to say sorry for, And then he says, "I'll give you 5 seconds." And I was kind of like, yeah, okay, whatever. And I hadn't said one word, not one word. And I'm looking at it, and he starts counting down from 5. And he got to 3, I think, 3 or 2. And he moved over and he lifted my chin up like this to expose my jawline, And I'm thinking to myself, I wonder if he is actually going to hit me, or if he's just going to bluff me out or whatever. And I was thinking to myself, yeah, if he's going to hit me, I'm going to see his shoulder move and I'm going to duck. And I woke up on the ground. he just full laid me out, and I kind of woke up and I was kind of like, wow, how did I get down here? And my mate's like, "He just fucking laid you out, bro. He just laid you out." And I was just like, oh, man. I was like, I got a headache. Can someone take me home? So, yeah, I got taken home. And, but yeah, it was an interesting experience. Woke up the next day with a bit of a sore jaw.
Yeah, far
Yeah,
out.
I was lucky he didn't break my jaw actually, but
Yeah.
yeah.
I didn't know that he put your chin up like that.
Yeah. It was funny, man. Yeah.
That's a strike first scenario there, mate.
Well, I didn't really know what was going on. Like, I kind of was I was too pissed to even kind of be able to react to anything. Like, I mean, I didn't even say anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, don't get yourself into those situations, people. Yeah.
Nah.
Yeah, just walk away.
I was just thinking though, there was like a few things that I wanted to before we sign off.
Yeah, before we wrap it up.
Just when you spoke to me today, well not today, but when we started talking about this episode, and I said to you today, I had no clue what I was going to bring up, so I did some research, and I just thought, what would be some good things for example, I asked myself these questions, and I wouldn't know how to answer them, what to do if my kid was actually being bullied, and I came across an article that gave you 7 steps.
Yep.
And I thought, this might be a good thing to share.
Yeah.
Because I
100%.
would have acted the total opposite to every single one of these.
Yep.
For
Sweet.
example, one of them is stay calm and listen, and let your kids know that it's not their fault that they're being bullied, and don't overreact. Validate that it's happening, and that you're proud of them for being able to tell you.
Yeah, 100%.
Gather all the information first. Don't go off half-cocked, like who, what, when, where, and why.
Yep.
Empower them, which we touched on before, about teaching them the safe response, and also building their confidence up to, again, just say, well, they're just words. If it's just words, then yeah. But if it's physical, then you have to do something different about that. But
yeah.
Talk to the school. Now, this is what I wouldn't have done. I wouldn't have been respectful or firm. I would have gone off and just absolutely cracked the shits. But be respectful and ask how the school plans to address the situation.
Yeah.
Check in, stay involved, and monitor the situation as well, without being aggressive about it. And the other one was the mental health side of things. Watch for changes, which leads me to some of the warning signs on this page. Sorry to bore everyone, but I just think this is
this is great, man. This is a great little wrap up.
Yep. So some of these, I've got about 10 here. The warning signs in kids, not trouble getting out of bed, not wanting to go to school. Well, most kids don't want to do that anyway, but not wanting to go to school is one of them. This is an interesting one. Changing the method of how they get to school or the route to school.
Yeah.
Because I guess that applies for more if your teenagers going to high school. Change of sleeping patterns and eating patterns.
Yeah, because they're anxious.
Yeah, absolutely. Anger, mood swings, anxiety, and obviously crying. Unexplained bruising.
Yep. Stomach
aches and pains. Missing belongings. That often happens in primary schools.
Yeah, because things are getting snatched.
Yeah, absolutely. Asking for extra money or food. Now, this kind of reminds me of me being a bit of a prick at school. And, I was never a real bully, but I used to always be able to get a bit of extra lunch money out of some kid. And, I feel pretty bad about that. I should probably reach out to... Should I mention his name?
Nah.
I won't do that. I'm going to reach out to him first. But, arriving home hungry.
You're going to pay him back, are you?
I wouldn't be that much, mate. Interest.
You heard it here first, peeps.
Yeah. And unwillingness to discuss the secrecy about their online communications as well.
Yeah.
So they're all things that I'm glad that we actually spoke about this, because these are all things that I wouldn't have thought about, especially the to-do list if your kid is being bullied.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
That's how I'm leaving it.
Nah, awesome, man. It's perfect way to wrap it up. Good bit of advice there, Braden. Yeah.
Yep.
Awesome,
I'll be sure to remember at least a few of them anyway about staying calm. I think that's the key that we want to teach the kids in the beginning of it all anyway. Staying calm and being empowered.
Nah, awesome, man. Awesome.
Yeah.
Oh.
Episode 4, my bro.
Yeah.
Done and dusted.
Yeah, mate. Peace.